The security guard's grip on my arm was gentle but firm as he led me through the lobby. Employees I'd worked with for 7 years turned away, avoiding eye contact. Through the glass doors, I could see reporters gathering, their cameras ready. Corporate scandal always made good headlines, especially when it involved one of Chicago's largest tech companies. "Keep your head down," the guard murmured sympathetically. "They're like sharks when they smell blood." I nodded, clutching my cardboard box of personal items closer to my chest. But as we reached the doors, a familiar voice called out, "Wait." Marcus strode across the lobby, every inch the rising executive in his perfectly tailored suit. "My stepbrother. My betrayer. I think you forgot something, Olivia," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. He held up my employee badge, now deactivated. "Though I suppose you won't be needing this anymore. Not here, not anywhere else in tech. My name is Olivia Chen, and until 3 hours ago, I was the leading candidate for Chief Technology Officer at NextGen Solutions. 7 years of 80-hour weeks, countless successful projects, and a patent portfolio that had helped build the company into what it was. All destroyed because my stepbrother couldn't stand the idea of his Asian stepsister outshining him. The rivalry started the day my mother married Marcus's father when I was 12. Robert Kane was a successful businessman who wanted to give his son everything. My mother was a Chinese immigrant who'd worked 3 jobs to put herself through nursing school. The cultural clash was immediate and brutal. "They're different from us," I overheard Marcus's grandmother telling him one day. "You have to protect what's rightfully yours." Marcus took that lesson to heart. Every achievement of mine was met with sabotage. When I made the honor roll, he told his father it was because teachers were being politically correct. When I got into MIT on a full scholarship, he suggested it was due to affirmative action, not merit. But I didn't care. I had dreams bigger than his petty racism, and I worked twice as hard to achieve them. After graduating summa cum laude, I joined NextGen Solutions as a junior developer. Marcus, who barely graduated from a state school, followed 6 months later, hired as a management trainee thanks to his father's connections. For 7 years, we operated in different spheres of the company. I built things, created innovations, led teams. He played politics, took long lunches with executives, and claimed credit for others' work. It was an uneasy piece until the CTO position opened up. I was the natural choice. My technical achievements spoke for themselves, and I had the respect of the entire development team. But Marcus couldn't stand it. The idea of reporting to his Asian stepsister was too much for his ego to bear. I should have seen it coming. The signs were there: his sudden interest in the security protocols I was developing, the late nights he started spending in the office, the way he began cultivating relationships with the company's more disgruntled employees. The frame-up was masterful, I'll give him that. Small amounts of proprietary code began showing up on dark web forums. Someone had been selling company secrets, and the digital trail led straight to my security credentials. When they examined my work computer, they found encrypted files containing customer data. Data I had never accessed, but somehow had my digital fingerprints all over it. "It's overwhelming evidence," the CEO said that morning, looking more disappointed than angry. "I don't want to believe it, Olivia, but the facts are clear. You've been selling our technology to competitors." "I'm being framed," I insisted, my voice steady despite the panic rising in my chest. "Check the logs more carefully. Someone must have used my credentials." "We did check," Marcus interrupted smoothly. He'd been invited to the meeting as head of internal investigations, a role he maneuvered himself into just 2 months earlier. "The access patterns match your normal work hours. The encryption keys were generated using your personal algorithm. Face it, Olivia, you got caught." Now, standing in the lobby with him, watching his smug smile as the reporters pressed against the glass doors, I finally understood. This hadn't just been about the CTO position. This was about destroying me completely. "Why?" I asked quietly, so only he could hear. "We grew up together. We're family." His smile turned cruel. "Family? Don't make me laugh. You and your mother were never family. You were parasites, living off my father's success. And now everyone will know what you really are, a thief who betrayed the company that gave her a chance." The security guard shifted uncomfortably beside me. "Mr. Kane, we need to proceed." Marcus stepped back, straightening his tie. "Of course, get her out of here." He raised his voice again. playing to our audience. It's such a shame when people abuse trust like this. But don't worry, I'll make sure nothing like this ever happens at NextGen again. The next few hours passed in a blur, the reporters shouting questions, the calls from shocked colleagues, the email from HR detailing the terms of my termination. By sunset, my career in tech appeared to be over. No company would touch me after a scandal like this. I sat in my apartment, staring at my laptop screen as industry news sites picked up the story. Rising stars fall from grace, one headline read. Corporate espionage rocks NextGen Solutions, declared another. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from former colleagues, some expressing disbelief, others quickly distancing themselves from me. Then came the text from Marcus. Don't bother trying to fight this. Dad's friends with the best lawyers in Chicago. Know your place and disappear. I looked around my apartment, at the degrees on the wall, the awards I'd earned, the life I'd built through years of hard work. All of it threatened by a man who couldn't stand to see me succeed. My hands shook as I opened my laptop, but not from fear. Marcus thought he'd won, thought he finally put me in my place. But he'd forgotten something crucial about me. I'd never been one to accept defeat. I opened a secure browser and logged into an email account I created years ago, just in case something like this happened. The message I prepared was simple. It's time. Execute Project Phoenix. Within an hour, my phone rang. A number I hadn't called in years. Hello, Olivia, a warm voice said. I was wondering when you'd reach out. Tell me everything. David Chen. No relation, but he'd been my mentor at MIT. Now he ran one of the most successful venture capital firms in Silicon Valley. He'd offered me a job multiple times, but I'd always declined, determined to make it on my own. I told him everything, the frame-up, Marcus's sabotage, the years of subtle discrimination. When I finished, there was a long pause. You know, he said finally, I'm getting tired of seeing brilliant minds crushed by mediocre men with connections. What if we did something about that? What did you have in mind? Come to San Francisco. I have some people you should meet. And Olivia? Bring those encrypted files you backed up before they seized your computer. The ones proving where the security breach really came from. I smiled for the first time that day. Marcus thought he knew everything about me, but he'd missed something crucial. I hadn't survived as a woman of color in tech by being naive. I'd been documenting his schemes for years, building a case quietly, waiting for him to make his big move. Now he had. I'll be on the next flight, I said. As I packed my bags that night, another text came from Marcus. Saw you bought a plane ticket. Smart choice. Run away like the coward you are. I didn't respond. Let him think he'd won. Let him enjoy his victory lap, his promotion, his moment in the sun. I had learned long ago that revenge, like good code, requires patience, planning, and perfect execution. Marcus had just initiated a sequence he couldn't stop, one that would take 5 years to complete, but would end with him understanding exactly who he'd underestimated. The San Francisco fog was thick the morning I landed at SO. David was waiting for me at Arrivals, looking exactly as I remembered him, salt and pepper hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, and the slightly rumpled appearance of someone who thought more about code than clothes. Welcome to your new life, he said, hugging me. Ready to start a revolution? The next few weeks were a blur of meetings, planning sessions, and late-night coding marathons. David had assembled a team of tech industry veterans, people who'd faced similar discrimination and sabotage, who understood what I was up against. The evidence he gathered is explosive, Lisa Martinez, a former security expert turned VC partner, said as she reviewed my files. The way Marcus used your credentials, the pattern of data breaches, it's all there. We could expose him now. I shook my head. That's not enough. He'd spin it, use his connections to discredit me further. We need something bigger. David leaned forward in his chair. What if we gave you the resources to build something better than NextGen? Something that makes the technology look obsolete? And that's how Phoenix Technologies was born. The name was my idea, a reminder of what I was rising from. We started small, working out of a converted warehouse in Oakland. Every piece of code I wrote was a step toward my goal, every hire carefully vetted to ensure loyalty. Meanwhile, I kept tabs on Marcus through industry contacts. As expected, he got the CTO position at NextGen. The announcement photo showed him shaking hands with the CEO, his smile triumphant. I printed it out and pinned it to my wall. Motivation for the long nights ahead. Years passed. Phoenix grew steadily, staying under the radar while we developed our core technology. We poached key developers from NextGen, ones who'd witnessed Marcus's betrayal and jumped at the chance to work with me again. Each one brought valuable insights into NextGen's weaknesses. By year 3, we had offices in 3 cities and a reputation for innovation. Our security protocols, ironically based on the technology Marcus had framed me for stealing, were revolutionizing the industry, but we kept my involvement quiet. On paper, I was just a lead developer. The company's face was David, with his impeccable reputation and industry connections. Then came the opportunity we'd been waiting for. NextGen's in trouble, Lisa announced during our weekly strategy meeting. Their last 3 products have underperformed. Market share is dropping. And guess who's getting the blame? I looked at the article she pulled up. Marcus's face stared back at me, looking less confident than his previous photos. The headline was brutal. NextGen CTO under fire as company struggles to innovate. Their board is getting nervous, David added. They're looking for outside investment to right the ship. Want to guess who they approached? I felt a smile spread across my face. You. He nodded. Through my venture firm. They don't know about Phoenix's connection. They're desperate enough to accept almost any terms. The plan we'd spent years preparing was finally ready to execute. Over the next month, David's firm negotiated with NextGen's board, while we quietly bought up shares through various shell companies. By the time the deal was announced, we controlled 45% of NextGen's stock. The final piece fell into place when we revealed Phoenix's new flagship product, a security suite that made NextGen's technology look like it was from the Stone Age. Their stock plummeted. Investors panicked. The board called an emergency meeting. And that's when Marcus walked into my office, not knowing it was mine. He'd aged in the 5 years since I'd seen him last. Gray streaked his temples and worry lines creased his forehead. He still carried himself with that entitled confidence, but it looked brittle now, ready to shatter. I'm here to see the CTO, he announced to my assistant. I don't have an appointment, but trust me. They'll want to talk to me. Of course, Mr. Kane, my assistant said, fighting back a smile. Go right in. I was sitting with my back to the door when he entered, looking out at the San Francisco skyline. Look, he began, his tone condescending. I know we're technically competitors, but I think there's an opportunity for collaboration here. NextGen's experience combined with Phoenix's new technology. I swiveled my chair slowly to face him. The look on his face was everything I'd dreamed of for 5 years. Hello, Marcus, I said softly. Remember me? He stumbled backward like he'd seen a ghost. Olivia? What? How? How am I here? How did I become CTO of the company that's about to acquire NextGen? Or how did I manage to succeed despite your best efforts to destroy me? He'd reached for the door handle, but it was already locked. This is impossible. You were finished. I made sure of it. You tried. I corrected him. Just like you've been trying to hold me back since we were kids. But here's what you never understood, Marcus. I don't break. I rebuild. I come back stronger. I stood up, enjoying the way he shrank back. And now, dear stepbrother, we need to talk about your future, or rather your lack of one at NextGen. His face hardened. You can't touch me. My position is secure. The board. The board works for me now. I cut him off. Well, technically for Phoenix Technologies. We own a controlling interest as of this morning. I pressed a button on my desk, and the wall screen came to life, showing the evidence I gathered years ago. Remember these files? The ones proving you framed me? I could have exposed you then, but that would have been too easy. I wanted you to experience what I did, watching everything you built slip away, knowing there's nothing you can do to stop it. Marcus slumped into the visitor's chair, his facade of confidence finally cracking. What do you want? He asked, his voice hoarse. I sat back down, studying the man who tried to destroy me. All those years of his smug superiority, his casual cruelty, had led to this moment. Want? I have everything I want, Marcus. Phoenix is revolutionizing the industry. NextGen, your company, is about to become our subsidiary. And you? I smiled. You're about to experience what it feels like to be escorted out by security. His face flushed red. You can't do this. Dad won't let you. Dad? I laughed. You mean Robert? The man who always supported your mediocrity while dismissing my achievements. He lost control of his board seat last month. Turns out failing companies don't care much about family loyalty. I pressed another button on my desk, bringing up more documents on the screen. But before you go, I want to show you something. Remember all those projects you took credit for at NextGen? The innovations you claimed as your own? His eyes widened as he recognized the files, detailed records of every idea he'd stolen, every colleague he'd stepped on. Your entire career is built on theft, I continued. The only difference is I can prove it. Every stolen idea, every manipulated report, every falsified credential, it's all here. So here are your options. I slid a document across the desk. Option 1. You resign quietly. Walk away with your basic benefits package. No public accusations, no criminal charges. Sign an NDA and disappear. And option 2? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. I release everything. The evidence of your corporate espionage, your fraud, your systematic discrimination. Your career won't just be over. You'll be radioactive in every industry. And yes, I'll make sure even Dad's connections can't save you. Marcus picked up the resignation letter with trembling hands. You've been planning this for 5 years? Just to get revenge? I leaned forward. No, Marcus, I spent 5 years building something revolutionary while waiting for you to destroy yourself. The revenge is just a bonus. As he signed the paper, I thought about that day in the NextGen lobby, about his cruel smile as he watched my humiliation. You know what the difference is between us? I asked. You tear people down to feel powerful. I build things that actually matter. The document signed, he stood up on shaky legs. Was any of it real? He asked. The family connection? Did you ever think of me as a brother? I did, once, I admitted. Until you showed me exactly what family meant to you. Now, I suggest you leave before security arrives, unless you'd like to experience the walk of shame yourself. As if on cue, 2 security guards appeared at my door. Ms. Chen, one asked. Ready when you are. Marcus's face crumpled as he recognized the parallel to that day 5 years ago. But where he had been cruel, I remained professional. Please escort Mr. Kane out, I said calmly. He's no longer employed here. I watched through my office windows as they led him across the lobby. Employees turned away, just as they had with me at NextGen. But this time, it wasn't the innocent being punished, it was justice being served. My phone buzzed with a text from David. Board meeting in 10 minutes. Ready to formalize the takeover? I smiled, gathering my files. The NextGen acquisition wasn't just a business victory, it was a statement. In an industry that often rewarded privilege over merit, I had proven that talent and determination could still win. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of changes. Phoenix absorbed NextGen's valuable assets while restructuring the problematic parts. Many of my former colleagues were given fresh starts under the new management. Others, who had enabled Marcus's behavior, found themselves looking for new jobs. Robert, my stepfather, tried to reach out once. Olivia, his voicemail said, surely we can work something out. We're family, after all. I had my assistant send a brief response. Family doesn't try to destroy each other. Consider this a lesson in karma. 6 months later, I stood on stage at the Women in Tech conference, accepting an award for innovation in cybersecurity. The irony wasn't lost on me, being honored for the very technology Marcus had accused me of stealing. Success isn't just about building better technology, I said in my acceptance speech. It's about building a better industry, one where merit matters more than connections, where innovation beats inheritance, and where anyone with talent and determination can rise, no matter who tries to stand in their way. In the audience, I spotted Lisa and David, who had believed in me when I needed it most. Next to them sat several former NextGen employees who had joined Phoenix, their careers now flourishing in an environment that valued their contributions. Later that night, as I sat in my office overlooking the city, a final email arrived from Marcus. I understand now, it read. What it feels like to lose everything you've worked for. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. His apology, like his attempts to destroy me, came too late. I had moved beyond revenge to something more meaningful, creating a legacy that would outlast both of us. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. My assistant entered with a stack of resumes. The new internship program applications, she said. There are some amazing candidates from underrepresented backgrounds. I smiled, thinking about another young woman of color who had once dreamed of making her mark in tech. Schedule interviews with all of them, I said. Everyone deserves a chance to rise from their ashes. As I looked out at the San Francisco skyline, I thought about the long journey from that humiliating day in Chicago to this moment of triumph. Marcus had tried to write my ending, but instead he had only sparked my beginning. The phoenix had risen, and this time nothing could bring it down.